Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today we're going to talk about my 10 favorite albums from 1986, 38 years ago. If you can believe it, 38 years. It's a long time, but it really doesn't seem that long. Anyway, a lot of great alternative indie rock from that year, some really stellar albums. So let's kick it off here with number 10, great blues artist Robert Cray. The album is called Strong Persuader. This is a real solid album from Robert. He's put out a ton of albums since then, but this one is really solid, really fluid and consistent. Starts off with Smoking Gun, which had a lot of airplay at the time. My favorite song on here is Right Next Door, Because of Me. He has a line in there, just another notch on my guitar. You were just another notch on my guitar. Great line. But the whole album is just full of great, not really blues workouts, but just kind of great, solid, like real compact songs, you know. Really cool artist. I saw Robert open for Eric Clapton back at the Forum back in, I think it was the mid or late 80s. Great show, great show. And then again, I saw Robert Cray at the Universal Amphitheater, and John Lee Hooker opened for him, and it was just fabulous. John Lee Hooker, just seeing John Lee Hooker, this blues legend, sitting on a stool with the spotlight only on himself, it was just incredible. So this is coming in at number 10, Robert Cray, Strong Persuader from 1986. Coming in at number 9 is, in my opinion, the last album with really great Kinks songs, Think Visual. This is their first album for MCA. I really thought that the Kinks would stop after Word of Mouth. There was a song on there on the last song on side 2 called Going Solo. I really thought that was kind of an indication that maybe they were over. And I'm of the opinion that they probably should have stopped after Word of Mouth. That would have been a great, solid 20 years of great music. But they continued. They signed with MCA, and then they really faltered after that. They didn't really have any commercial success on the MCA imprint. This is the best album from that period. They did this album, UK Jive, and Phobia. I don't think Phobia was on MCA, though. But this album has some really fine songs. I think the last great songs on Kinks albums, I didn't think UK Jive or Phobia were really strong. But this has some really good tunes on it. You have Working at the Factory, great opening cut. Lost and Found, great ballad. You've got Repetition, kind of mid-tempo rocker. Some of the best songs on here, though, I think, are some of the ballads. How Are You? Natural Gift is kind of a cool tune. It kind of reminds me, though, of Don't Go Breaking My Heart by Elton John and Kiki D. Killing Time is great. Probably the low points are the Dave Davies songs on here, not some of his best. When You Were a Child and Rock and Roll Cities. But I saw the Kinks 3 separate times on this tour, and one notable gig was at the Santa Barbara Bowl in June of '87. And for some reason, at the bowl that night, they had all these removable seats, like seating pads, right? And then about 3/4 of the way through the Kinks show, all these seat pads started flying through the air. There must have been thousands of seats flying through the air, these like seat pads, right? And just flying through the air. It was so bizarre and hysterical. I was just laughing my ass off. A couple hit the stage. One, Ray Davies picked up. And he said, "Does this mean we suck?" So it was really a fun show at the Santa Barbara Bowl. I also saw them at the Hollywood Palladium that year, and I saw them at the Greek Theater that year, and they actually did Muswell Hillbillies, the song Muswell Hillbillies. But yeah, this is, to me, kind of the last kind of breath of great Kinks albums. I wouldn't even say it's a great album, but I'd say about maybe a half to quarter is really good. Some of the songs don't really hold up, like Video Shop and Welcome to Sleazy Town sounds a lot like Gallon of Gas. But anyway, a fine album. Kinks Think Visual from 1986 coming in at number 9. Number 8, even though this album is a compilation, I think it's really one of the strongest compilations of the period. It's The Cure, Standing on a Beach, the singles. I was never a huge diehard Cure fan, but I always loved their singles from this period in the 80s. Songs like A Forest, Boys Don't Cry, Let's Go to Bed, The Walk, Love Cats. I always loved The Caterpillar. I thought that was a really cool tune. And what I always really liked about The Cure was that they didn't really follow any kind of trend or anything. They just kind of did things their way. And all their songs in the 80s, all their singles at least, always sounded completely different. And K-Rock played a ton of them back in the day. And I really just think this is just a killer singles collection by The Cure. And this came out in 1986, so I'm including it. This is coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is the last album, Elvis Costello, released for the Columbia Records imprint. I don't know what he was on, what label he was on in the UK, but yeah, this is his last album for Columbia Records, and I think it's a really underrated album from Elvis Costello. He teams up with The Attractions for this album. There's just some absolute stellar tunes on here. I Hope You're Happy Now, Tokyo Storm Warning, I Want You. A few years ago, I saw Costello with Nick Lowe at the Thousand Oaks Civic Center in California, Southern California, and he ended the show, which seemed like about a 10 or 12 minute version of I Want You, and it was really cool. He just kind of like strung it out a little bit and kept it going. It got real quiet and really intense. Really amazing ending to a great show. Other great songs on here, Blue Chair, Battered Old Bird, but my absolute favorite on this album is Crimes of Paris. That is such a great pop song. That could have been a single. So this, for me, is coming in at number 7, Elvis Costello's Blood and Chocolate, a really underrated album from his Columbia period. Coming in at number 6 is Life's Rich Pageant from REM. This is, I believe, their 4th album, not including Chronic Town, their EP. This album shows REM kind of revving up a little bit more rock and roll in their sound. Previous to this album, let's see, the 3 previous albums, Murmur, Reckoning, and Fables of the Reconstruction, were more kind of folk rock albums. From the very start, Begin to Begin shows a little more rockier REM, and These Days, the second track. This album, though, does have some really, really cool highlights. Fall on Me was a great single. My absolute favorite on this album is The Flowers of Guatemala. Oh, such a great tune. The first time I ever heard that song, it reminded me of the opening of the Monkees song off More of the Monkees called Sometime in the Morning. I always liked that song. Also, Cuyahoga, What If We Give It Away, Fall on Me. You got that cover of Superman. I forgot who did the original. Please fill in the blank in the comments section. But yeah, really kind of a, what would you say? Kind of a different style for REM, moving into a different kind of era for them. Kind of moving away from like the folk rock stylings of their early period. Yeah, Swan Swan H, great acoustic guitar song. But yeah, I remember seeing them a couple times on this tour as well. One was at Costa Mesa at the Pacific Amphitheater, and it was raining like cats and dogs that night. And I think we were late. I think we came in like on the 3rd song, and they were playing CCR's Have You Ever Seen the Rain? And I remember on this tour, compared to earlier tours, they were really loose. I don't know if they were like drunk. I do remember a lot of bottles of beer on the stage, but I remember the shows being very loose, more hard-edged, but great shows nevertheless. And then about a week later, I saw them at the Universal Amphitheater, and it was pretty close to the stage. And they did a cover of Television's See No Evil. Yeah, it was great. It was great. REM in this period was just fantastic. Very charismatic without even trying to be charismatic. And yeah, this was kind of leading into their more commercial phase. And I think this was the first album, I think that went gold, I believe. I'm not sure. But anyway, great album from REM, Life's Rich Pageant, coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is an absolute 5-star gem from 1986 from Paul Simon, Graceland. For me, this album, along with There Goes Ryman Simon from 73, these are my 2 favorite albums of his. There is just not a clunker on this album. Inspired by, music from South Africa. There's a cappella on here. There's pop. There's rock. Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes is fantastic. You Can Call Me Al. The title track is amazing. What else do we have on here? We've got All Around the World. Crazy Love is a great ballad. Gumboots. I Know What I Know. But my absolute favorite on this album is Africa Skies. God, Under Africa Skies. God, what a beautiful song with the voices of Paul and Linda Ronstadt. Incredible, incredible song, beautiful melody. There's just, this album is just really timeless. You know, it just doesn't really sound dated. Of course, it's had a lot of accolades. It's very legendary. I think it won some Grammys, but you know, deservingly so. It's just a fantastic album. It just shows you he's one of the greatest American songwriters. Paul Simon, he just kind of writes effortlessly, just these amazing, subtle melodies. And just, yeah, his voice is very understated a lot of the times. But yeah, just an incredible album. And if you've ever seen it, check out the SNL version of Under Africa Skies. I think it was back around 86, 87, where he's on stage with Linda Ronstadt. Just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, this is coming in at number 5 for me, Paul Simon's Graceland. Coming in at number 4, in fact, number 4 and number 3, both these albums I bought at the same time at Moby Disc Records in Woodland Hills. I just took a shot at these albums. I had no idea what they sounded like. I was going on the hype sticker. And I was like, oh, I got to check these out. So number 4 for me is the first Smithereens album, Especially for You. What a great album. When I first heard this album, it really reminded me of Elvis Costello. But Pat Denizio was an amazing songwriter. I mean, obviously there's a lot of mid-60s influences here, you know, Beatles, Kinks, Who, but they kind of do it their own way, 80s style. There's so many great songs on here. It's just Behind the Wall of Sleep, great song. You've got In a Lonely Place, a great duet with Susanna Vega, great ballad. Blood and Roses, one of the all-time classics from the 80s. In fact, I used to play it with my band. Hand of Glory, Alone at Midnight ends the album on just a really high note. Incredible song, great band live too. And Pat Denizio, I met him years ago at a coffee shop before a show in Ventura. Just the nicest guy. But anyway, I think they're still going today. I think they have Marshall Crenshaw backing them up. But yeah, great album, Especially for You. Coming in at number 4 for me from 1986. Coming in at number 3, I've mentioned them several times, is Game Theory. A lot of people consider them like a part of the Paisley Underground movement of the 80s, but I think they were heads and above a lot of those bands. The late Scott Miller was an absolutely brilliant songwriter, taking his cue from, you know, Alex Chilton from Big Star, but putting his own twist on it. Really great power pop album here with a lot of different styles though. There's a song in here called Regenus Rain. It's the last song on side 1. Has the most amazing 12-string guitar sound with these beautiful harmonies on the chorus. Just absolutely amazing. The album ends with just this really cool psych tune called Like a Girl Jesus. I remember seeing them at the Music Machine Club in LA at the time during this album. And they open with that tune. And it's just a great way to end the album. In between those first songs and last songs, you've got Erica's Word, which is a great pop song that got a little bit of airplay on MTV. And just a lot of great songs. If you've never heard this album, it's a classic, an absolute flawless classic from a great, very unsung band from the 1980s. Game Theory, The Big Shot Chronicles. Check it out. Incredible album. Coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is the Smiths' Queen is Dead. Some people consider this their best album. I think it's definitely up there, but even though Hatful of Hollow is a compilation album, that is still my favorite album. My favorite songs on this, though, are the title track, Queen is Dead, with that incredible layer of guitars by Johnny Marr, just rocking it out. Doesn't sound like anything before this album, that track. It sounds like a whole new band. You got Frankly Mr. Shankly, which is very Kinks sounding. I Know It's Over, a great kind of brooding, you know, melodramatic Morrissey tune. But my favorite song on side 1 is Cemetery Gates, a song that would influence groups like the Sundays. Here's Where the Story Ends. Cemetery Gates is so amazing. Then you got Big Mouth Strikes Again on side 2. Incredible pop song with a great chorus. Boy with a Thorn Inside, another great pop classic. There's a Light That Never Goes Out, another great one. Some Girls Are Better Than Others. Yeah, this is a great album. I think, though, their last album, Strange Ways Here We Come, is just as good as this album, though, too. And that ended the career of the Smiths on a very high note. But yeah, this is a very phenomenal record. 1986, I saw them twice on this tour, 2 nights in a row at the Universal Amphitheater. First night they opened up with Still Ill, and the second night they opened up with Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want. Nobody knew at the time that it was only about a year and they would break up. So yeah, very short career, but very prolific. Lot of great albums, a lot of great singles and B-sides in that 4-year span. The Smiths' Queen is Dead coming in at number 2. And number 1 is just an absolute masterpiece of an album, XTC's Skylarking. I just have always been a big fan of XTC. All their albums sound different. You got Todd Rundgren on board here producing. I guess Andy Partridge and Todd Rundgren didn't get along too well, a lot of friction, but it ended up being one of their greatest albums. It just flows perfectly. You have an equal amount of great songs by Colin Moulding and Andy Partridge. It starts out with Summer's Cauldron with the crickets chirping, goes into Grass, which is a great Colin Moulding song. Then you've got The Meeting Place, another great Colin Moulding song, and on and on and on. Just one great song after another. The last song on side 1, Season Cycle, could be like a Zombies meets Beatles meets, Beach Boys song. It's just phenomenal. Side 1 starts with Earn Enough for Us, great power pop song. This is a original promo copy of the album, and this is a copy that has Mermaid Smiled on it instead of Dear God. And I think that song is way better than Dear God, and I think it fits this song cycle way better. That's an amazing song. Then it ends with 2 great Colin Moulding songs, Dying and Sacrificial Bonfire. Yeah, this is what you call a masterpiece of an album, expertly produced. The arrangements are amazing. The choruses are amazing. It's just absolute ear candy. And for me, this is coming in at number 1, Skylarking by XTC. So there you go. If you have any favorites from 86, please put them in the comments section. I'd like to have a discussion. It'd be great to know what your favorites are. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And we'll talk to you soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.